Hello everyone. Thank you for being here. Hi Jessica. It's so good to see you. I'm so excited to hear your story. I think that we can just dig right in so everybody can kind of get to know you a little bit better. Why don't you just kind of walk us through like what life looked like before Right Your Way to Freedom, bring us all the way up till today, and I'll just ask you questions all along the way.
Okay, and it's so good to see you too. I was very bummed I couldn't go to the mastermind last year, but I'm gonna make it this year. So I'll
Yeah,
be excited to see you in person again.
I know, I know. How have you been to only one or you've
I've
been to
been to
two?
two, and I
Yeah.
love them both so much.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you've been to two in-person events. That's
Mhm.
amazing. And they're always so fun. I just like love seeing you guys in person. So yeah.
True.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit like who you are, where you're from, things like that, because you got a lot of interesting stuff going on in your life. So we have to touch on
Yeah.
that.
It's like a sitcom around here most of the time.
I
So
bet.
yes, I'm Jessica. I live in Utah. I grew up near Salt Lake City, but now I live like pretty much in the exact center of Utah in a little town. There is a junior college here, so it's the biggest town in this area, but still not big. We do have a Walmart and one stoplight, so pretty glamorous.
Whoa, really? That's wild.
Yeah, I love it here. We've lived here for a few years, and it was great when we were moving that I did not have to worry about bringing or like finding a new job. I could just bring my own with me.
Oh my
So
God.
I have six younger siblings, that three of who are still live at home, and then we've got six dogs, two kitties, alpacas, a llama, chickens, with more to come. So I spend a lot of time with animals, and I'll talk more about that. But yeah, always busy.
That's amazing. Yeah, keep going. I already have so many questions, but keep going.
So I joined Right Your Way to Freedom in May of 2019, and I literally like a couple weeks before had just finished my degree. I did an online business degree through Western Governors because I had always said I'm not going to go to college. And then I felt like I needed to, but I had no idea what I was going to do after. So I was graduating and I had no plans. I was doing ESL tutoring and that was it. So I found your ad on Instagram, as many people did. And I love writing and I had just studied business, so it seemed like the perfect fit. And I got my business set up that summer. I got my first client in September and I actually still work with that client. Um,
Whoa, that's amazing. So it was a
yeah,
good one then.
yeah, he's awesome. So I have stayed in the sustainability niche the whole time, mostly with sustainable e-commerce and love it. I let's see. Yeah, so I quit my job, my last job, um, in January of 2021. I was working at a library and I didn't, I, there was a point where I could have quit, but I loved it so much. I kept doing it for a while. And then we were getting ready to move. I let go of the part-time library job and moved fully into copywriting. So I've been, sorry, I gotta silence my phone, fully full-time for 3 years.
Okay.
Crazy. And I've I love working with clients for a long time. I love when I can find great clients and work with them for a long time. So I really get to know their business and their personality. So my clients that I have right now, I've had one since September of 2019, and then one since 2020, I think. And then the other two, it's been about a year. So, and those are the ones I work with consistently.
That's amazing. And you haven't like flip-flopped in your niche, which is like huge congratulations there. Cause I feel like most people kind of freak out about their niche. But did you just know from the beginning you wanted to be in sustainability and just kind of did it? Yeah.
Mhm. So there was about a month in 2020 where I decided I wanted to kind of look into the food and restaurant niche because I like before I worked at the library, I was a pastry chef and like did that kind of stuff. And I do love food, but sustainability has my heart. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And I know that like going back to the beginning, some of the things that were a huge win for you was actually, I think you paid off your student loan debt, right? So you got right out
Mhm.
of school and then paid it off like pretty quickly, I think.
Yes, I can't remember the exact timeline now, but I think it was within a year. And like I didn't have a huge student loan, but that was so amazing to like pay off my student loan faster than I finished school. So that was
Wow.
great.
Pay off your student loans faster than you finish school. Because that's not most people's experience. I mean, you usually come out of school and you just have like such a big debt that you like have weighing over you. And that for me, I think is the biggest thing is like having the cloud, the looming cloud debt cloud like hanging over you. So that's amazing. And then so you like keep going because now like when did the move happen where you moved to this animal rescue and tell us about that.
Yeah, so last June I started volunteering at the pound. So there's I think like 50,000 people in my county maybe, and like 8 or 9 cities and then a couple little tiny towns. And I started volunteering, just kind of going to take pictures of dogs and walk them and try to get them to other rescues because there's no county animal control here. There's no shelter. So a lot of dogs get put to sleep after just the 5 day stray hold.
Mm.
And there's nothing at all for cats. So I saw the need was so big, and all animal shelters and rescues are just so overloaded right now that I decided I wanted to try to start something of my own. And I think I don't think there's any way that I could have done it pretty much by myself if I had not already built a copywriting business and like developed those skills of being an assertive communicator and writing things online and knowing kind of how to market things. So it really feels like the universe led me in this direction because all the things I've done throughout my life have brought me to this place. And while I feel like I'm getting gray hairs every day from how stressful it is right now because it's still so new, um, like I haven't felt this much sense of purpose in a long time. So it's amazing.
Wow. Wait, so that's interesting because I knew about the animal rescue and I knew that, copywriting had kind of allowed for that to happen, but I didn't think about how it, facilitated just like your knowledge around like marketing and maybe all the things
Mhm.
to navigate online. I assumed that it was because you could like, you weren't in an office from 9 to 5.
Mhm.
So can you tell us more about that? Like, what have you needed to take from like what you've learned in copywriting and apply it to like starting your own animal rescue?
Mhm. Yeah, but before I say that, like it also the flexibility of having a
Right.
job that I can do anytime has been absolutely critical because there have been a couple times like I had to go pick up puppies in the middle of the night once, 2 little Pyrenees puppies, and I knew I didn't have to hurry and get into the office the next day. I could just baby them and bathe them and get them
No.
settled. And yeah, so it's the flexibility is very important because I
Yeah.
can do my work pretty much whenever. And
Right.
if I need to have dogs and cats piled in my room while I do it, then I can do that too. Um, so that yeah, the process for starting a nonprofit is a little bit intimidating, especially if you haven't built an LLC before, because you have to form a corporation and then you have to apply separately for the nonprofit designation and submit forms and like write your statement of purpose and submit all this like data and accounting and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a process.
Mhm.
And I only just got approved in December.
Okay. So like the official, but you've had these animals, I mean, like the
Mhm.
official
Yeah,
process.
so I've been doing it, but now I can actually write off expenses and apply for grants, which is another thing that the writing will come in very handy for.
For sure. I feel like copywriting and grant writing go hand in hand. They definitely, that will be so helpful. So that's amazing. So it helps you, because I don't obviously have never started a nonprofit. And so it helps you with, I don't know, navigating all the things that you need, obviously, just like navigating all the like online stuff. And
Mhm.
then eventually writing grant or getting grants and stuff like that. Yeah. That's
And
amazing.
also,
I had not like considered that. That's really
yeah,
cool.
really pretty much every aspect of it is really connected because another part of it is getting kind of a community engaged. And it's most of my copywriting has been email marketing. Like I write blogs, but I've mostly done email marketing. So that skill of building an email list and an audience is coming really in handy too.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, let's circle back to what kind of copy you are writing. So
Mhm.
mostly write email copy, and who are you writing for and what does that look like?
Yeah, so I started off doing just blogs
Yeah.
because that's like pretty simple. And I slowly started doing more email, mostly for that one client that they were like, hey, can you take over the email list too?
Mhm.
So I discovered that I really love it because you can put so much personality into it and see the results and all that kind of stuff. So right now I manage the newsletter for a brand called Locktree. That's the one I've worked with for a long time. Eco Enclose, which pretty much anybody in the sustainability space would know. They're
Mhm.
like one of the biggest sustainable packaging providers, which is awesome. It's like my first big brand.
Easy.
Um, and then Food Huggers and a tiny little cleaning and candle company that's up where I used to live. I write a couple emails for them every month and they pay me like $80 a month, but it takes me like 30 minutes. So it's like they're my friends now. So that's fun.
That's so amazing. So you love emails. I love emails too. I think they're
Hmm.
really fun. Much more personality can go into them, I feel like. I mean, you can still put personality in blogs, but you know. And so what does your day to day look like? Like, how are you splitting your time with copywriting versus your animal rescue?
That has honestly been the big struggle of the last 6 months. And
Yeah.
I kind of got burned out. So I'm coming back to the foundational things of this course, like the mindset and the routine and setting healthy boundaries, because it's like a whole new, not battle, but kind of a little bit of a battleground to try to make sure I'm giving time and attention to everything that needs it. So what I've found is working the best is when I can, doing my copywriting work in the morning,
Mhm.
so that I make sure it's all done, and then doing rescue stuff in the afternoon. Because I right now am pretty much doing everything myself, whether it's going to pounds and checking on the dogs that are there, because most of them are just run by police officers that go once a day. We're going and feeding some feral cat colonies that I'm managing. We're posting stuff on social media, following up with fosters. So I've discovered if I start doing that in the morning, I get so absorbed in it and then I don't have my like best energy for work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also
I
like, I would think it would be really tiring to do it the other way around. Yeah.
mhm, it is.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things I love about just being your own boss in general is that seasons of life change and
Mhm.
you can change work to kind of like match that. And that's like one of the best things about it. And then, but like whenever you're in a big season shift, like figuring it out again, I'm in that shift, but like with motherhood, like navigating a baby and like work has been a whole situation. So it's like, but it's this, I just remind myself, I'm like, I've gone through other season shifts and it just
Hmm.
takes some time to like recalibrate and figure it out and adjust things. And luckily we can, you know?
It's so
Oh,
true.
sorry, go
I've
ahead.
No, you're okay. This probably is something similar. I know you've been in business a long time, but I'm sure with motherhood it's coming up again is that things don't have to be under the perfect conditions for you to accomplish what you need to do. Because I would try to like make sure I had everything checked off my to-do list and everything perfect, and then I would focus on my work. And that's just then it never really happens. So I'm relearning to do what I can in imperfect moments.
Yes. And as somebody who is obsessed with like checking all the to-dos off that you had planned for the day, I've had to really let go of those. Like I'm like, these are nice to do's. And if I can just, get to a place where I'm pretty proud of what I've gotten through, like that's good enough. So, because it's just, I don't know, there's just so much, when you have so much going on, you can't be as like, I don't know, because when you first started, actually, question, was it just copywriting you were focusing on? So you had that like contrast of like knowing what it feels like to just have one thing to focus on, and now it's like your attention is frayed. Is that what happened?
So when I very first started, I still was doing a few different things. So I lived in Korea for a while, and so I speak Korean. So I
What?
was, I know. So I was doing ESL tutoring for some kids, some online and some that lived up at the Air Force Base. And then I was also doing medical interpreting in the hospitals. And that's what I did too. I don't even know what I'm doing with my life, Sarah. I'm just changing all the time.
Oh,
But
I love this. I'm
how I
so
got through
similar in this
college.
way. Yeah.
So I did those because they were flexible and my school was online. So I was working those two part-time jobs and doing school at the same time. So then after I found copywriting, I slowly like transitioned to only doing it. And my last students moved back to Korea. Um, so then I was just focusing on copywriting. And that was a lot nicer to have all that. And then I did go back to the library because I'd always wanted to work at a library and I saw that they were hiring.
Mhm.
So I worked there for a while. And then COVID hit and everything I liked about the library kind of went away.
Mhm.
And that's when, I mean, besides the books, obviously, the books didn't go away.
Yeah.
So then it was easier to let that go and
Yeah.
just focus on copywriting.
When I hear that somebody has like done as many different things as you have done and how you've kind of pieced it together, to me, that is like a sign of an entrepreneur, like a sign of somebody who like needs to have flexibility in their life and will not often fit into the like 9 to 5 mold, at least not for very long. Do you feel
Mhm.
like you knew that you would be an entrepreneur, or was this something that surprised you?
So when I was really little, I mean, the first thing I wanted to be was a Vulcan because I liked Star Trek. And then I found out that wasn't going to work out for me. And then I wanted to be a zookeeper. But as soon as I was old enough to really know like what I wanted to do, I wanted to open a bakery. So I've always wanted to do things for myself. I wanted to be a baker and an author.
Mhm.
And then working in a bakery showed me that's not what I want to do forever. But my family, like I'm really lucky that I have a very entrepreneurial family.
Oh, no.
Um, so that they've been able to like support me and understand kind of the cycle of entrepreneurship. Like my dad runs his own web development business. So it kind of was there from a young age.
Yeah. Wait, that's so interesting because I feel like I could say like 90%, maybe more of the people in this community are the first entrepreneur in their family. So more often than not, they're kind of butting up against like, family just being like, "What are you doing? You've lost your mind."
Right.
So it's amazing that you've had that. Although I've also heard stories where people have like entrepreneurial parents and it's like all they did was work and so they're like scared of it because they don't want to be a workaholic.
Mhm.
What was it like growing up with entrepreneurial parents, and maybe what are some of the best pieces of advice or things that you took away from like watching that?
So the workaholic piece is one thing that I'm trying to kind of be a little bit of a cycle breaker of that I'm trying to balance like loving my business but also being present with my family.
Mhm.
And like that is my dad when I was younger worked really long hours building hit a couple of different companies and that was awesome, but we also loved when he was home. So that's something that I am trying to do more of. But I think something that helped was to have my dad who had already been through some really successful times and some really hard failures in
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. And so he could like tell me with that experience, hey, even if the worst thing happens, you're still going to be okay.
Mm. Mhm.
I really am afraid of failure.
Mhm.
That was really helpful. And also at first, when I was trying to get things going and I was trying like pouring my heart into doing the course and looking for clients and I wasn't seeing immediate results, something that he would always tell me is like you're building a machine.
Mhm.
And that once you build that machine and figure out how it works, you can keep running it and it's always going to like be able to be adjusted and work for your business and bring back good results to you. I'm not saying this very well, but he would just tell me like keep building the machine.
Oh my God.
So that
I,
helped me a lot.
I'm like, I need dad's advice. This is all such good advice.
I know. He's a pretty great dad. I love him.
This is all such good advice. It's true because, and like what I feel like he's touching on the last one is just that like nothing's ever wasted, right? Like when you're spending
Mhm.
time learning how to like build things, gain clients, be better at marketing, like you just take it and apply it differently, even if the landscape changes, even if AI comes around and like shifts everything. Like that's just always what happens anyway. So I love, love, love that advice. That's such a good one.
Mhm. Okay. My
You got a
kitty's close
kitty?
enough that I can snatch her now.
Match the kitty. We're gonna see one of the kitties from the animal rescue.
This is Nymphy.
Hi, kitty.
She's
That's
very cute.
She's so cute. I love
I'm
black
trying
cats.
to convince, I do too, my cats that it's okay for me to have a foster cat, but right now they're really mad about it. It's only been a few days, so we're working on that still.
How many cats do you have?
I have two male cats. They're not brothers, but they're bonded because I rescued them both when they were kittens. And I had a senior cat that recently passed away, but she
Or
had a great retirement here. She was blind and mostly deaf and very cranky, but very sweet at the same time. So she had a lot of personality.
oh, that's so sweet. Animals
Uh,
are just the best. They're just the
it's
best.
true.
Um, So there's a couple of questions people wanted to ask you, and one of them was, um, what does it feel like to have earned the skills to elevate your life? Do
So
with
I
that.
read that question and I was thinking about it while I was walking one of my dogs this morning, actually. And it's almost like they were looking into my brain a little bit because
Oh.
yeah, I know. So I feel like that feels really empowering to know that now these skills I have, and especially now that I've applied the same skills to doing something totally different, I
Mhm.
know that even if things fall apart, I can rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know how to change the circumstances I'm in or deal with the circumstances I'm in. And um, an area that copywriting really helped me with that's not personal or that's not business is communicating better.
Mm-hmm.
And that has improved my life so much because I used to be the absolute worst people pleaser. And I never said what I really wanted, and I never said what I really thought. And I always beat around the bush and like use 75 words when 2 words would have done.
Oh
So,
my gosh, I could have said all of that. Ugh, I feel that so much.
but it's helped me become so much more confident and clear and assertive in my communication. And that has been critical, like in my personal life, my business, and the rescue. So, developing that skill takes time if it's not how you naturally are, but it has truly changed my life. I feel so much less resentment to people, so much more confident when I have to tell them when something I know they don't want to hear and actually say like what I need and want. I'm not perfect at it, but that is one of the most important skills that I've developed.
I have to echo all of that because I mean, I literally could have said everything you just said, like to a T. I joke, I'm like, copywriting like made me a better person. I'm like, I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. And then like insert everything you just said. Um, Because yeah, I mean, when you said say you say things now in 25 words when you used to say it like 75, I was like the queen of like, okay, so like if you maybe had a chance and could like felt like helping me, but like don't feel any pressure, it's totally fine. Could you maybe like lend a hand? And now I'd like don't, you don't do that as much when you learn how to like communicate effectively. Ugh, it's just like such a gift. I'm so glad you spoke to that because I relate to that one so much, and I have a feeling other people do too.
And a lot of it came, I mean, like all skills, a lot of it didn't come from the like pretty moments where I was doing my mindset work. It came from really hard things like sending emails to clients and setting boundaries. And it is uncomfortable and
Mm-hmm.
scary. Like the first times you say, hey, I don't think we're going to be a good fit, or hi, I need this from you, or like this isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Those moments when the world doesn't explode after you say that shows you that, hey, I can say what I actually think.
It's so true. Do you have a few moments that like stand out as like big turning points or just uncomfortable moments that really made everything a little bit better when you got through them?
So there was a client that it's been several years now that I was all set up to work with her. Like we had done everything, and I kind of had just ignored this little niggling feeling that it wasn't really a good fit for me and my business. Mostly just because of like kind of personality and communication and business differences. Like they weren't a bad business, but I just kind of felt this nagging feeling. And she had just sent over the stuff for like kind of the initial project brief, and I just felt sick and so stressed. Like I couldn't think about anything else. I knew this was the wrong thing. And a previous Jessica, not wanting to like disappoint or upset her, would have just gone through with it anyway. But I sent her an email saying, like, hey, I know we've been through all this. Like, I love what you're doing, but I don't feel like I have the right bandwidth to meet your needs right now. And she was upset. Like, she was frustrated and she wanted to know all the reasons why I had cut off this project. And I can't remember what I said now, but I kind of explained things and we parted on good terms.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and as soon as I did it, I knew it was the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like a weight just like lifts off your shoulders. Yeah, it's interesting because for me anyway, and maybe this resonates with you. there's like an interesting distinction that you have to learn to differentiate between in those situations versus when you're feeling resistance to just like doing something new and it's scary because it's new. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Do you have any insights into how to differentiate between those two, or have you ever like articulated that before?
I have thought about that before because I do get really nervous before doing things, especially if it's something that I feel like I'm not good enough for, or I don't have the skills yet, or I might let someone down. And kind of an opposite experience to that is when I emailed Eco Enclosed because they're a big brand, like
Mm.
big. And even though I'd been doing this for years at that point, I felt like I'm just wasn't good enough to reach out to them. And so she answered my email and we had a call and we started like doing some projects. And I just had that similar, like really anxious, nervous feeling of, oh my gosh, this is a big project. This is going to be read by like tens of thousands of people. And that was a first for me. And so I was really nervous. But I think the difference was once I like kind of pushed myself to start doing it, I felt better and I felt the confidence like and motivation grow. Whereas when I tried to just push through on the other project, I just felt so blocked and like wrong.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. Such a
For
good,
me, at least, that's kind of how I've
yeah, no,
noticed.
that's great. I love hearing how people navigate that because I think it's one of the most important things we have to kind of cultivate within ourselves as business owners is kind of differentiating between like, okay, when is this resistance and I just have to do the damn thing even though it's uncomfortable? And when is it like, oh no, I need to turn around and go a completely different direction. So
Mhm.
I'm curious, what is one or two things you wish you had found out or someone had told you earlier in your copywriting journey? And how do you think this would have helped you?
One thing I wish I had started doing earlier is asking for help more.
In what sense?
So I have discovered that it's great to learn from people who are already doing the thing that you need to do. And obviously, I had some of that already in place, learning from you in the course, but I wish I would have like asked people who were doing great more like, why is this working so well for you? What are you doing? Or somebody that I saw had overcome the same thing I was struggling with. Like, I wish I would have reached out to them and asked, like, hey, how did you get through this? And like, also, I think just if you feel overwhelmed or overloaded, it's totally fine to ask somebody else for help. And
Mm.
I've done that for a few copywriters who got more work than they got a lot of work and then either something came up where they had more people say yes than they expected and they needed to farm a few articles out to somebody. And like I did that and I never thought, oh, what a bad person for asking for help. I was
Mhm.
like, yes, I get to help you. That's awesome. Win-win for both of us and your client. So I think
That's amazing. And
learning
you
to ask them.
cultivate relationships, right? Like I think that's an important thing. And one of the reasons I'm always harping on like, just don't even think about other copywriters as competition. Think about them as potential like collaborative partners because when you build your network of other copywriters, you learn faster, you get better faster. You have somebody to call on when you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much work," or "Oh my gosh, I got sick and I need help," or whatever happens. So I love
Mhm.
that. So do you feel like you've cultivated like a pretty good network of people? And yeah.
I feel like I do have some pretty solid copywriting friends and business friends at this point, and that mindset has been like just as important, if not more important, building the rescue. I know I keep going back to that. That's just kind of my world right now. But I have been reaching out to more established rescues to figure out kind of what they're doing that already works. And that has saved me from so many mistakes that I otherwise would have had to like slog through on my own.
That's so smart. Like, yeah, definitely. Why not like reach out and just be like, "Hey, what have you learned? Help." I don't
Hmm.
even know what I'm asking sometimes. You could probably even be like, "I don't even know what I'm asking. Just tell me, shed some light on the things that I might mess up."
Hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really, really cool. I love that you've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as somebody who was a lone wolf for a very long time and now has built like a community, I'm like, this is the better way. Don't do it alone. Like, please.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm wondering if you could go back in time and kind of talk to yourself at the beginning of when you were thinking about like starting the copywriting journey and just give yourself a few words of advice. What would you say to yourself back then?
Hmm. think one of the biggest things that I would tell myself is like, don't lose the excitement.
Mm.
Like
Tell me more.
so I mean, it's inevitable that as you do things, you'll have times when you're so pumped up about it and times when you're in a slump. But I think I got so caught up in the stress and kind of the day-to-day stuff that I kind of lost vision of why I was so excited about this in the first place.
Mhm.
And that kind of newbie mindset of like being excited about learning and building my business, not just working in it every day
Yeah.
and staying in touch with kind of the why of my end goals. I think if I had checked back in with that more often, I would have been able to kind of feel more ease in my business and make more progress. So, and I'm kind of getting back to that now, seeing how I can tweak my business to make it fun, all the amazing things I'm wanting to do and still continue to work with clients I love. So, I don't know. And I think you've said this before, but I just had a kind of leadership training meeting for some community stuff I do, and they were talking about how the body can interpret fear and excitement the same way, like stress and excitement.
Mhm.
And I'm really good at interpreting it one way towards stress, not as good as interpreting it as excitement, but I'm trying to make that shift, being excited about all the things I get to do instead of stressing myself out. Because I was so excited when I found the course, like so happy, so excited. I knew it was the right thing, and I still do. But I definitely fall into those times when I'm just like, oh, I have to get up and write up a vlog today, or just being so stressed. So
Yeah.
touching back to that first moment of such excitement has helped.
Oh, that is such a good reminder. Um, I remember the first time I realized that fear and excitement feel similar in the body and how to, or I just always labeled everything as anxiety. Like anything that wasn't like calm was anxiety. So even when I was excited or like really, really happy, it was all just anxiety. And I just thought I was a big anxious mess. And I love that you touched on that because reminding yourself to like question what you've always called whatever in your body, whether it's stress or whatever it is, anxiety, you name it. It just gives you an opportunity to kind of like reframe your daily experience, like the little stuff. And I love that you touched on that. So thank you. Of
Mhm. And can I just say one more thing
course.
that's okay? So something that was completely different from pretty much everything I kind of been taught before I came to this course was that mindset of seeing people as friends and collaborators and not competition and like moving away from that zero sum mindset. And that's been amazing. And it's helped me not feel like so insecure or like jealous or bad about myself when I see people doing really well. Like, I know, Kelsey, she's
Hmm.
in a similar niche to me and she started after me and we've worked with a couple of the same clients, but she is like light years ahead of where I am in my business right now. And I know it's because like of how hard she's worked and how focused she is and she's just amazing. But I'm so glad that I'm in a place where I can see that and say like, yes, go Kelsey, and like feel the parts of me that I want to be more like a Kelsey without beating myself up. So that's been a big um blessing for me.
That's so huge, especially in today's world where I just feel like, I don't know, social media is just like a comparison machine. Reminding
Mhm.
ourselves not to do that. And also, I just have to add that you're running an animal rescue. So there's also that. It's like, a lot of time and energy and just so freaking cool that you get to do that. I love and admire you for that. So what's next? What's in the future? What are the next things that you're hoping for?
So I love the clients I'm working with, but all of them but one are pretty small, low budget clients that I've worked with for a long time. So my next step is working on some service packages that I can deliver at a high rate
Mhm.
that like deliver great results for my clients and are easier for me to kind of get a great system for
Mhm.
because I really want to work towards growing my income without really growing my time in the business so that I can get some property and get a facility and start being able to take animals in, instead of only having a foster base because that's really needed, but it is expensive and time consuming. So I
Yeah,
need to make some shifts in my business, but I am excited about it.
that's so amazing. Well, we have lots of people in our community, me included, to reach out to and get help with those shifts. Like I have no doubt that will happen for you. So I'm really excited to see that shift and see what comes of it and watch your animal rescue grow. It's amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, not to get sappy on Main Street, but you are truly have been one of the most influential people in my life over the last 5 years since I found the course. Almost six. That's crazy. So
Mm,
I just love you and
love you
love
too.
this community. And I'm so excited. I haven't been super engaged with all the new people coming in, but I love popping in and seeing what people are doing. So I'm going to try to do more of that because this community is one of the best parts about being in Right Rate of Freedom.
Thank you so much. It's been so amazing to watch you grow. Because I remember the first time that we met, and it was just
Hmm.
the early newbie days. And I don't know, your confidence is just so different. Like you can feel it. So it's been amazing to watch you grow. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your thoughtful questions.
Have a great day.
Yeah, and we'll see you in the community. Bye, guys.
Bye.